Welcome back to the Nullified Take channel and Reality Realness with 3S's here on YouTube, where we're back to talk about the Challenge USA finale. And don't worry, I know there's a lot of you that are very nervous that Chantel isn't here, and I know you want her takes. She will be dropping in a little bit, but myself and Drew, we're going to be starting things off here for you. Drew, how are you, my friend? It's been a whole week, we've had the finale. There's been a lot of controversy. How's everything sitting with you?
I am doing better mentally and physically. Like, I'm still having some residual congestion from getting over the sickness, but I'm feeling a ton better. And I don't know what everybody is going on about. This finale was great. I mean, there's nothing upsetting about it. Everybody did great. Everybody was a fair shot, right? Nothing bad happened. Or did I miss something, right? I don't know.
Did we watch the same show, Drew? Like, I feel like we watched different shows, right? So, I mean, but it's good. It's good that you're coming in with the positive vibes, because I normally feel like I'm the one that, I'm normally glass half full, but I feel like I'm glass half empty coming into this podcast. So I'm happy to talk about it and to nut out what you did like and what, potentially we'll talk about what I didn't like, and let's see if we can find some middle ground.
No, I definitely have a lot to say about it. One comment that I got a notification on from my review and recap was, I feel like somebody said that, oh, I think I watched your recaps week in and week out. I think there's somebody new to my channel, and they were like, oh man, every single week it just seemed like you were more on the negative side and you were looking towards the negative side. And I kind of like the season, but everything you said about this finale, I 100% agree with. And I was like, I'm glad we could find some common ground. I mean, I don't look for the negativity, but somehow it just finds me, and then everybody gets on my page towards the end of it and then realize maybe that guy wasn't so negative. Maybe he was just looking at it factually. So I'm excited.
Well, when you're someone like yourself, Drew, that have built a whole channel based on the challenge and you're passionate about the show, you want the show to succeed, you look into every little aspect of it, and you can see through production meddling and doing stuff differently than what they should be, or maybe not being as transparent. You can't help but be critical of the show. So I understand why you sometimes are critical. And I tell you what, I hardly drink, but I've got some alcohol here today. It's going to get me through this. So if anybody's sitting at home and they're feeling the pain like me, crack a bottle of, whatever you've got, nice red wine, or, get a beer. I don't endorse over excessive drinking of alcohol. I just want to put that out there. But I would understand if you wanted to have a drink with us here tonight as we talk about this finale.
Yeah, let's go. I mean, I got water. I don't need to gas myself up. I mean, this is par for the course for a little while. I mean, finals are always messy, and I feel really bad. Like, the ultimate loser here is the challenge itself and pretty much the audience in this realm, because so much of Twitter, a lot of people that watched this was their first introduction to a challenge. And so watching the final, everybody was like, I kind of want to see what this final is all about. And I'm sure that they were very disappointed. I mean, Peridium, a very big, high-level YouTube channel that doesn't normally watch the challenge, was having a lot of criticisms for this challenge because he watches Big Brother. He makes videos on Big Brother and Survivor. So you knew he was going to watch this. And a big channel like that was very critical of the finals. And I think that's just one person with a big platform, but there's a ton of people that watch this going, this was messed up in more ways than one.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point, because this was the challenge's big opportunity to sell this show to a wider audience. Now, the people that they drew into the show that watch this, they were probably people who are used to watching competitive reality TV shows. Like myself, I kind of gravitate towards the competitive reality TV more so than just drama for the sake of drama. It's why I struggle to get into love shows. It's why I struggle to get into some of the other stuff that are out there. I understand why people like that. It's just not necessarily what I appreciate. But I feel like for us that wanted to see a fair competition and something that's going to go to the end, we really didn't. I feel like we didn't get it, especially with some of the things that happened. But we'll talk about that. Let's get into the start of the episode because there is a little bit that happens before we actually get to the finale. And the first thing here is that, you know, they get woken up in the middle of the night. I really enjoyed seeing them panicking, not knowing what's going on. And again, like I said, you know, for me, seeing a new cast go through this experience, I feel like a lot of this is more authentic because this hasn't happened to them. But for us that have watched the challenge before, this is not the first time that people have been woken up in the middle of the night to go and do something, and potentially for a finale to kick off straight after that.
Yeah, I mean, this was it. Like the first hour, at least this first part of the daily challenge, was awesome. Like I really enjoyed. I love all night challenges. I love them with all my heart. I don't know why. It's maybe because we only get like one a season, and it's always one that's like super intense or at least the most creative. And I thought this one was super creative. I really enjoyed this. They tested if people can swim, their strategy on these puzzles, whether they're going to keep going, which tires are you going to go for the longest, and which one are you going to try to figure out? Are you going to go for all the 3-point tires and try to run back and forth quicker than somebody who's going to be trying to do a 20-point puzzle? I just thought that this was really well done. I really enjoyed it. Also, we're close to October. The aesthetic is really nice. I don't know. I just really enjoyed this daily challenge.
Yeah, definitely. Dolores is saying she tells the guardian of it overall, especially of Drew and Chris. She keeps them honest. I don't know about that, Dolores, but yeah, no, we definitely will have Chantel on a little bit later on to give her very strong take. I believe she'll have a strong take. She always has on this finale. But it's interesting because the beginning of this whole thing is was it a 1 kilometer swim just to get on the island? That is ridiculous. And somehow Enzo manages to do this opposed to doing something in the finale when it comes to swimming and, you know, not being able to complete that. And ultimately, and I know I'm jumping ahead, but I feel like this is how the finale is going to be. It's a little bit of foreshadowing and we saw how it played out, but he actually does finish this, but he can't finish that and then costs someone her game, you know, someone that none of us wanted to see go out of the game this way. And I felt like it was extremely unfair. But we've seen this before. We've seen people get, and I think that for an audience that have not seen the challenge before, they would have been more shocked than people that have watched the challenge for a long time. I mean, we can go back and talk about many people before this that have been evicted from the game because their partner couldn't complete the finale or even just a normal season challenge, and they have to go home for medical reasons or something, and then the other person gets dragged out of the game with them.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with how choppy the water was. At night, it was very calm wherever they were. And when they started the finals, it sounded like wherever they were at, it was cold as heck. It probably shocked his system. And he's already fearing for his life. He's not a very good swimmer. And then how choppy the water was, I think just really got a lot, him just really worked up. It just sucks that he wasn't able to listen to Desi, or Desi wasn't able to get to him to where maybe that she could do like a lifeguard thing and just like paddle him and give him a break kind of thing. Cause it was devastating. Like, I don't know why. It just, there's points in like, there's certain pitches and there's certain cadences in like reality TV or movies that when something happens, it like hits a nerve with me or a feeling, and I start to well up. It happens every time I listen to the Strung Out in Battle of the X's 2, where it was Naya versus Leroy, and Naya hits the bell with her foot and yells for Leroy to just go. Like, I don't know why, but I get like welled up where it's like that high pitch of a scream gets me. Like she's in pain, and I just hear the pain in Desi's voice being like, Enzo, just listen to me. You don't have to do this. And then Enzo's just like, I can't, I can't. And she's like, don't do it. It's not too late. Like when she says it's not too late while he's on the side of the boat getting into it, like you could just tell that is a woman that wants to compete and is seeing her chances just completely fall through the fingertips. And it just sucks because it's nothing that has really anything to do with her. It's Enzo. And it's not like even Enzo skated by. It's not like Enzo had such a great social game that he never saw a single elimination. He saw 3 and beat people that he could, that was worse than him in eliminations that he was just able to get those wins in. So it's really unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad about how this happened for Desi going out of the season this way. I mean, she was there for 6 weeks, as long as you had to be there to do this season. She put her heart and soul into it. I thought she played a phenomenal game as well. Someone that I think the challenge would want to come back potentially to compete again in the future if they do this world premiere or this world crossover thing that they're doing, the championship thing that they want to do, and losing her here in such a manner was so sad to see. I felt that emotion as well, and I'm not similar to you. I'm not I feel like I'm not that emotional in general when it comes to watching normal TV shows or movies, but reality TV, there is a little bit of reality. You can see yourself in her position there, struggling to get the partner to get to the side, and then ends up having a full-on panic attack. And I think that's what happened. And there is no reasoning with someone when you're getting a panic attack out in the water. It is, and that's why he said get away from me, because he was fearing for his life that he was going to drown. But I agree with the hangout room here on this comment saying that Enzo just seemed unapologetic about his behavior, and it was hard to forgive. I feel like, he did just sort of brush it off at the end, like, if she doesn't talk to me, so what? And it does sound, from what I can see here, Dolores saying that they have not talked since then. And I can understand why. I mean, why would you want to talk to this guy that cost you this game? And people will say it's only a game. It's $500,000, $250,000, Drew. That can change someone's life.
Yeah, and we talk about the challenge, and what we love about it is people getting to come back and get redemption or have a big character arc. I do not want to see Enzo ever on my TV screen ever again. Like, it will be too soon if I would see him on the cast for the Challenge USA season 2, which I'm sure is going to be a thing. I don't want to see him on anything. I mean, this was it. This was like the final straw. I understood him being pretty much brought to the end of a second Big Brother season, but this is way different than just sitting in a house talking to people and getting them to laugh at your jokes that are really terrible. Like, I don't care to see him ever again.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think with Enzo, he had his moments and confessionals, but if he was to ever return, like, I would be very annoyed at all of the cast for not voting him out immediately. I mean, maybe the men would want to keep a quitter around, but the women definitely would not want a quitter there, potentially to go to the finale to cost them their game. And the problem with Enzo is he has proven himself to be pretty effective in the arena when it comes to elimination. So even if they throw him in there, he could still potentially do well in those. So some of the reason when it's head to head, he does, most of the time you don't have water challenges in the head to heads. He does bring out the best in himself to be able to win those once. And I think he won the most this season with 3. But let's talk a little bit about Angela. I saw a comment here earlier from Chasing Cabrine. Chasing Cabrine, welcome back to the channel. She says, I know we enjoy Angela as a competitor. I do. I don't know if Drew does that much, but I can't say I wasn't satisfied with her failing the challenge miserably. And, what an interesting turn of events for Angela here. She's been dominating the whole season, Drew. She comes into this specific challenge. She chooses the slide puzzle, sort of following in Tyson's footsteps. She's first to the puzzle, and then ultimately just fails it because she can't solve it. She's there that what seems like forever, and she doesn't change it up at any time. Tyson telling her to keep going at it, and ultimately she has to go into the arena, which I don't think anybody would have seen that coming throughout the season. She's been nothing but consistent.
Yeah, it was super interesting. Like, I didn't understand the rules. I kind of wish we would have gotten more of the rules, because every time, like, how long it was taking for her to do a slide puzzle. And for anybody, I just learned how to do a slide puzzle like a year ago or in quarantine, because I was doing Discord orgs and nobody ever wanted to do the slide puzzle. And I was like, I've never done slide puzzles before. So I was like, I'm just going to work on it. And I finally figured out how to do it with the algorithm that they do. I was confused at why, like, every time Tyson ran past her, she couldn't just be like, hey, do you want to take the slide puzzle, and ensure that at least he would get into power. Like, I didn't understand why Tyson wasn't like, hey, you want me to jump in? I mean, I can get it done. I'll get the 20 points and I'll get into power and I'll help you out. You just go look for other tires instead of spending an hour and a half on the slide puzzle. I just didn't understand why they didn't just sub in.
Agreed. Because Like, make sure that he's the sole winner of the daily. And, you know, then you have a lot more time instead of spending 15 minutes or an hour and 45 minutes. Like, how long did she spend on that slide puzzle? To
Too
like,
long.
she should have definitely aborted that and like instead try to get more points and try not to be in last. Like an hour and 45 minutes is way too long to spend on a slide puzzle, especially since, in my opinion, they're really easy.
Yeah. I feel like she was stubborn. She was like, I'm not going to give this to anybody else. I'm going to do this. I'm Angela. I can, I'm a badass at everything. I can figure this thing out. And maybe she overestimated her ability to figure this thing out. I mean, if you're there for that long, I'm surprised she even got it, to be honest, at the end.
I mean, the hard part about a slide puzzle is when you don't have like the numbers and you can't really tell what the pattern is supposed to look like. But Tyson just finishes. So just be like, oh, what does his look like? At least if you know where they're going to the finish, it's really just systematic. You just go from one, like you just go across to every single spot.
Pull a Michi and look over at Josh's puzzle. It's just like,
Josh, how's that happening?
Look at the skull behind you. Oh, that's what a skull looks like. Thanks, dude. That's not going to help me.
And like, I know some people get tripped up on slide puzzles, but I had to toot my own horn. And so I was playing a live reality game. And so this was a Survivor version where I went and I had to camp out like over a weekend, and I ended up like being on, I had a tribe swap, and I was the only person from my old tribe on this new tribe. So like it was really hard for me to be able to stay in the game. And so I made it through one vote, but after that, like I wasn't able to stay in another round. And so there was a buyback, for this particular weekend. And so all the first 7 or 8 players, we had to do this whole gauntlet. And so like there was 3 different major elements, and I had to win my way to get back into the game. So I made it through the first round, and the second round I had to be like treading water and answering questions. It was hell. And then the third part was a head-to-head slide puzzle that I had to do against this other person, and I was just like done, and I'm back in the game. So
Did you beat Tyson?
I would have beaten Tyson. Yes.
There we go.
I'm good.
Fighting words. I love it. Chantel, welcome to the podcast. I saw everybody in the live. We definitely missed you. I think everybody in the live missed you as well. They were all like, the queen has arrived. Chantel, we've got her here. So everybody's very happy to have you, Chantel. But I do want to know, because myself and Drew coming into this podcast, we talked about how do we feel overall about the finale. And I am pretty low on it, I would say. Drew is higher than me today on this. I'm normally the optimistic one. And Chantel, where are you sitting on this?
I am low on this final. You remember how I felt after season 2 of All Stars?
I remember that, and I'm with you there. I'm there.
This final disappointed me so much that I'm like, maybe I don't like the challenge anymore. That's that's where I'm coming to. I'm like, I like transparency. I like rules. I like people knowing what they're going to be playing with. Like, I don't like surprise elements. I like fairness to a certain extent. And I just felt like, I think it's an epic fail if more than one person quits your final. Okay. It's an epic fail. We want
2 people completed it. 2 people completed. How crazy is that?
We don't even know if she completed all of it. You know what I mean? We don't even know if she completed all of it. But 2 people got to the top of the mountain. We'll just say that. And I think that is a massive fail. I think that it's a big letdown for me for the entire season, where I want to see people battling. I want to see them going head to head. I was so excited to see like Danny versus Tyson running up a mountain. Like, I wanted to see that. I wanted to see like when Justine was like, is Justine going to win this? I'm like, I was super excited about like all these people that might be competing for the win, and it was just a little bit of a letdown. Obviously, I love Danny. I think he's an excellent winner. He did all the checkpoints. He deserved to be the winner. Absolutely. I wish it was just a little bit more of a battle, and especially with Sarah, like, I wish that there was just more of a battle, like that she didn't kind of win by default. And then there was lack of transparency as to the checkpoints and like who did what checkpoints and when do you get timed out and who says you can time out. And like, there was just too much going on that took me out of enjoying the final. Every step of the way, I was disappointed.
I do want to say, Danny and I don't know how people are going to perceive this. I love Danny for winning, and I love the whole Kiki video thing, him and his child,
it's
and
so beautiful.
like I mean,
Great.
I felt that emotional connection with him, and he clearly is an awesome human being. Not the most entertaining person on TV, right? If you could choose between him and Tyson winning, who's going to be in this flagship show, you'd probably want Tyson there from an entertainment standpoint. If you look at Sarah again, she didn't provide us with much entertainment this season. So I feel like with everything going on, a little bit with the Angela beef and that, but you look at that, I think this was worst case scenario for them because now they've got Danny and Sarah that are going to go and present or be the face of the Challenge USA. And I actually understand why behind the scenes, it sounds like things have changed to the fact that they now want MTV champions in there as well. Because if you're having to rely on Danny and Sarah to give you a good TV show, this is the worst outcome. Let's be honest.
Well, I was just on talking about this episode with Sarah from Nerdtainment, and Danny was actually in the chat, and he said that him and Sarah have been like texting with each other, and they're talking about strategy, what they're going to be doing going into it. And so I do think that they both have the winning, like the desire to win and be the best and be top dog to maybe give us what we need. And so I actually do think that they might be a decent representation. I don't know if they're going to bring the drama, but I do think that they're going to be like a solid team that everybody's going to be scared of. And so I have actually a little bit more faith than you do as them bringing some spice to the season.
I hope so. And the one thing that would be good to know is, will they automatically be a pair? Because you kind of feel like, well, it has to be duos. The Challenge USA duo is going to be together. The Challenge Australia duo, the Challenge Argentina, because kind of intermixing them. I don't know if it works in that concept where it is the war of the worlds or whatever they're going to call it. People going up against each other, these different franchises from different countries. I kind of feel like they would have to be texting. They would have to work on their team chemistry because most likely they're going to end up being a duo in this thing. Obviously, this is highly speculative at this stage, but I do think that this was worst case scenario for them. Apparently, Drew Tyson's been called over 10 times, and he said no every single time. He's not interested in ever coming back.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of got that feeling even before the season ever began. I mean, he has said plenty of times that this did not stimulate him. This was not fulfilling. This did not. This game. Let's just be real. This game was too easy for him from the very beginning. I mean, he trained way a lot more than everybody else. I mean, also
but not in Sudokus. Come on, Sudoku. Sudoku tripped you up.
The people that he was going up against were not that great of competition. Danny, of course, was a much better competitor, and I think he was downplaying a lot of his abilities throughout the season. But when you're going up against, nothing against Ben or whatever, but Ben's not going to be really doing anything. Dom's not going to be too threatening. Enzo, David. I mean, once you had Big Brother taking out their own Big Brother players, I mean, it was just too easy for him. He wasn't challenged enough in the game like if he were to do Survivor. So I'm not too surprised that he's not going to come back. But also, I mean, you were talking about Danny or Tyson. Who would you want to win? I mean, I want the guy who's going to be better at winning. And I'm sorry, but if people are going to quit, I don't want to see them in the competition. I don't care how many good confessionals they can do. I want somebody who's going to go out there, give it 110%, and get to the top of the mountain. So I don't care if you're looking for a timeout. I don't care if you can't swim in choppy water. I want somebody that is going to finish it. So I totally understand where people are saying that MTV or CBS needs to take responsibility for how bad this final was. And true, they did everything for this final. They put it together. They deserve majority of the blame. But I also blame the competitors that quit, because how many times have we seen competitors in finals be cold? Every single snow place, people have been cold. But how many people on the MTV one quit? Not a whole lot.
I think, though, the difference is that with the people that have been on the MTV shows, this is what we're talking about with Sarah, is that the MTV version is like the non-union production version, and then CBS, maybe Big Brother sometimes, with Survivor is like the union production, where it's like there's lots of rules in place, and there's like people that go and evaluate challenges, and they practice them, make sure that they're fair, and MTV is a little bit more grassroots and like, you know, guerrilla style, and you know, we'll see what happens. We'll wing it. We won't test it out first, and we'll just you know, fly by the seat of our pants. And so the people that are from the MTV world are actually used to this type of competition. They're not surprised by not getting the full rules or full explanations, or, you know, things are being a little bit unfair here and there. And that's probably why we don't hear that many people complaining about it, because
and they want to come back.
And they want to come back because they're expecting this from them. And so I think that the level of expectation that the people coming from these CBS shows that they have is one of the reasons why they decided to quit. I think it was because the whole experience has been super negative for them. They were lied to multiple occasions throughout the season. And I think that they just were at their wits' end with production, and this was their only card that they can play, is being like, I'm gonna stick it to them, like, I'm gonna quit this show, because like if we're gone, like, they don't really have a real finale here. I think that was the only card that they could really play, because, you know, they were hearing that the food was terrible this whole time around, conditions were terrible this time around, you know, things were unsafe. Like, there's just so many things that were compiling about the production of this particular season. And if you're used to something like Survivor, where, you know, Jeff will come in and be like, no, this isn't fair, we need to do things this way, we need to make things safe, we need to whatever, then I can see that they're maybe a little bit like expecting more, and they're not as tough. Maybe they're a little too soft.
How bad does the food have to be for you to be saying that the food is bad in the challenge, when in the Survivor you get no food? So if the food is worse than having no food, then that is the ultimate slap in the face.
Even what's her name? Shannon was like, yeah, I wouldn't do it again. The food was disgusting. And I was like, wow.
I just want to add. Sorry. I just want to add to the whole argument before Drew gets in, because I feel like Drew's got more to say about the quitter thing. And let's talk about quitters. Let's talk about all the quits, all of them, except for Danny and Sarah. I do think that there was this element of, listen, these checkpoints, there's timeouts. You can move on after timeout. And Tyson said that was one of the things that was frustrating when he got to the Sudoku. Suddenly there was no timeout for a puzzle, and he was apparently 30 to 45 minutes there ahead of Danny, but there was no way for him to get past it. He didn't know how to play the game. He's never played it before. The rules of the game wasn't properly explained to him. The producers that he asked for the rules didn't know. So he got to the point where he felt
follow the pattern, apparently. And Danny confirmed that it said follow the pattern. But Danny also says that, Tyson knows how to do Sudoku. So I don't know if him knowing how to do Sudokus he got tripped up for it, the rules being follow the pattern. And so he just didn't do the normal Sudoku thing. I'm not sure, but that's some more information.
One thing I will say, and I hate quitting. I'll never endorse quitting whatsoever. But in the circumstance of you being out there on this mountain, getting frozen on, and the rain, it looked miserable. You've got no clear way of knowing how to finish this thing. You're not really getting clear instructions. You're probably thinking, well, I can put numbers in different ways, but the only thing I'll basically be here until producers tell me Danny's reached the top of the mountain. It gets to a point where you're like thinking, well, what's the diminishing returns for me to actually continue? The one bad thing here is, by Tyson and everybody quitting, none of them get any money. So Tyson still had how much money left in his bank account at this time? Like close to 20 grand, that by quitting, he could have just stood there and he would have still had the money. As long as he didn't quit, right? He would have had the money. That's my understanding of it, unless I misunderstood it. So obviously there's a double whammy, because he doesn't get to go up the mountain and potentially win this thing, but he also loses the money that he fought for this whole season. And he was one of the most consistent men in the competition.
I do question, though, maybe you guys can, you've seen it multiple times, probably, Drew, you could probably answer this for me, but was it a voiceover when TJ says that if you don't make it to the top of the mountain, that you won't get your money?
So.
It was a voiceover? Because I'm just wondering, because there's been so many gripes about everything, that if they knew in advance that was part of the stipulation when they quit. Because I'm wondering if they thought, I already have my money here, I'm going to quit, I'll take my $17,000, I'm not going to bother running up the hill. I'm wondering if they knew that in advance, because we also learned, and Danny, I believe, confirmed this, that they went into playing this season with the knowledge that they were playing for $500,000 for themselves, not to be split and not to have anybody else's bankroll to be taken out from that that $250,000. So there was also a lot of misleading energy with like the money and how things were going to go down. So I wouldn't be surprised, and I get it. I don't like quitters too. I was really pissed off about how many quits that happened in this final. Absolutely. But I'm wondering if they're like, well, like, I'm not gonna be able to beat Danny here right now. I'm not getting a timeout here right now. At least I'll take my 17 grand and just go home. So I'm wondering if that's what his thought process was.
Yep. I'm assuming Baby Ice is asking, can you Sudoku? I'm assuming you can, Chantel.
Yeah. Yes, I can Sudoku.
I've never played it. I would have been in Tyson's boat. I'd been like, I don't know what this is. I've never played it.
Like, I was very surprised though, because Sudoku, I thought, was like, I've said this a bunch of times now, I thought it was like a cultural phenomenon where it's in every newspaper. So I remember in high school, I used to do, like, there's like a word scramble, there's a crossword puzzle, and I believe Sudoku's at one point started to be part of the game page in the newspaper. And I used to do it every single day. My mom does Sudokus every single day. Like, I have Sudoku books, and I always thought they were actually just kind of boring because it's kind of process of elimination. I used to like, I believe it's called Kukuru, which is a Sudoku, but you have to solve for values at the end. So like there'll be numbers around the side, and so you'd have to do the Sudoku at the same time, the same rules, and then solve for equations to be equal at the end. So I thought that was more interesting of a puzzle, and that's the type of Sudoku that I liked. But
I think I skipped the newspaper generation. Like, it's full digital when I grew up. Like, I didn't really read newspapers all that often. So I feel like I maybe just skipped that a little bit. I don't know. I don't know. I just never had Sudoku.
Did you ever have a landline? Like, what's happening here?
Yeah, we had a landline, like, for, I don't know how long, maybe for like a couple of years growing up.
We still have a landline, okay? Like, at my mom's house. We still have a landline.
Still have landlines. Like,
I had a landline up until I moved back from Vancouver. I used to still have a landline.
All right. Want to bring up here the Hangout Room. Thank you so much for that donation. Saying that Tyson needs to be in a house with Bananas, Wes, CT, Jordan, and Turbo. Those are his challenges. The cast was mental week for Tyson. Sorry, not sorry. I think that comes back into what you were saying earlier in regards to him just not feeling challenged, Drew. I don't know if he has to come back and play this game. I feel like Tyson is going to say to them, you need to pay me $100,000 or something just as an appearance fee to go there. And I don't know if they're willing to do that, but he's going to want to make some bucks for the fact that he lost out on this season. So I don't see Tyson necessarily come back. Let's talk about another quit. Let's talk about Angela. Angela's been dominating most of this season. She got through this thing. She got to a certain point where she had to do this challenge on her own. It's a wheelbarrow. She's got to move it from one space to the other. Other teams there, and I only watched this once as well. So Drew, if you saw anything that was different from my understanding, other teams could rest one person at a time while the other one was moving the dirt back and forth. She didn't have that extra person, so she could rest. So she had to continue to do this the whole time, and she decides that she's not going to do it. She's going to sleep instead, ultimately quitting, saying that she, from what I'm understanding and from what's coming out of it, she didn't understand that she couldn't time out on the specific one, and that she didn't realize by her sleeping she was going to quit. Should production have told her, if you're going to go to the tent, you're quitting? Or are you guys happy with them not being transparent and clear about that? Because in my opinion, I feel like production should have said, hey, you can go sleep, no worries, but you're quitting. Just be aware you're quitting. Because I don't think she would have quit if she knew that.
I agree.
So I think that this overnight portion sucked. I know that they needed something for them to do to get points or whatever, and you're not really like tethered to your partner realistically. So it's not like a Rivals 3 where one person has to stand on the log and the other person gets to sleep. Like, you're changing partners every single time. Like, there's no real help there or able to score points there if you're on the log or whatever. So they needed to do something. This just sucked. This stunk. I felt for Angela a little bit, but to me, even with it not being transparent enough, where somebody did message me and said that it was more transparent than what some people are letting on to, that something would have happened to Angela if she did not try or complete it. But it just, I could have guessed that if I didn't move dirt, that I wouldn't have been able to I wouldn't be able to move on to the next challenge. That's just my thought process. I know she's pissed. She's pissed from doing the whole day, being exhausted, and then having to move dirt by herself. I totally understand it.
That she had to finish it, and that she had to do 2/3. She had to do 2/3 and finish it. Apparently, is what was going on there for that. But also. Apparently, and this is confirmed by Danny and Tyson, that the only people that finished it was actually Sarah and Dom, because and that was the only duo that completed it. Everybody else, because production wanted to go to sleep, they did not actually end up finishing it in the end. So like it's just kind of like, well,
wow,
decide, right? Like if people are not going to have to finish it, then you can't really penalize somebody for deciding not to finish it and deciding to just take the low points here, you know what I mean, without being completely transparent as to like, you know, what was going down. So obviously I was irritated by that. If it were me, I would have done it and just be complaining about it and just be crying about it. But like, I understand that she is more defiant than I am, and like probably just wanted to be like, F you, like I'm not going to do that. But another thing that I've been saying that they should have done that would have solved this whole thing is when Enzo was flailing and he decided to quit, maybe be a little bit more flexible production and allow Desi to compete with the other one woman, right? So there's a woman so every round there's going to be a female team that will be able to work together. Yes, it's not ideal, but it makes it even along. And like all these 2-player activities will have a second person to be able to do them. And so I wish that they had done that. And I was messaging with Tyson in his group chat, and he said that they suggested this to production and production turned down that idea. And I'm like, why did you need for Desi to be DQ'd like that when you have somebody else running solo?
Yeah, Chasing Cabrine is bringing up a great point here, saying there's no way she thought Desi and Enzo could not finish swimming. Kayla had to finish eating, but Angela could opt out of her portion. No way. So that's a great point, because the rest of them still had to continue what they were doing, and you had Kayla having to finish eating. She couldn't time out.
Fair, or maybe she would have timed out, but then we do see Justine, which is another, I do think it was really unfair with her portion where she was running by herself, where they had to memorize 10 numbers, come and use a cipher to be able to figure out the code letters, and they allowed her to time out without completing it. And so why?
It comes back to production. They're just, it really does come down to like, we can say, oh, you know, this player quit, they're horrible, should never play this game again. I don't put Angela personally in that category. I want to see Angela come back again. I want to see her compete. I don't know if she would come back and compete again, because I kind of feel like she's in that same boat as Tyson, where she's like, I don't know if I need to do this show because it's not transparent and they're moving goalposts on me. And that's where the bitterness and the sourness for me sits in watching this. And that, Chantel, well, I am feeling similar to how you felt a couple of seasons ago when we watched that finale, where we were like, man, like you were saying, do I even want to watch the challenge if this is how it's going to be every season? And sadly, it's, you know, fool us once, shame on them. Fool us twice, shame on us now, because we've seen this happen twice in short succession in the last, wasn't it the last 3 seasons that we've covered now? Like we've seen this happen twice, which is very disappointing. And for me personally, I don't watch the challenge for the drama. Like, it's fun. It's a nice edit. I watch it because it's a competitive reality TV show. I like the competition. That's what draws me in to the challenge. I know other people like different things, and that's fine. You may like other things, but for people like me who like the competitive side of this, it doesn't seem like a fair competition. I do want to read out what the Hangout Room is saying here as well. The Hangout Room says, and thanks again for another donation. You really don't have to do that. But she says she did not finish the task. She quit. End of story. And I know we can be divided on it. I feel pretty deflated by the inconsistencies in the rules. And that's what we're saying, Drew. Shouldn't they have, at the beginning of the finale, a printed out page of rules? This is the rules. This is what's going to happen throughout the game. These are the things. They don't need to tell them exactly what's going to happen at each checkpoint. They don't need to tell them that, but they need to tell them that if you do X, Y, and Z at any checkpoint, it means you're disqualified. Just make it clear from the start.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we always want. We would always want them to be clear and transparent. It's just not the challenge way. And including in this season and in this global competition, they were throwing this out like they didn't have something written down, when they were just throwing out, this is War of the Worlds competition, we're doing 4 shows, and then they do it, and then turns out to be a mess. And it's like, well, we're going to have 4 people from 4 different countries, 8 people from 4 different countries. We're going to have challenge legends in this global competition. It's like, just print out rules, think about it, take a breath, and then make the announcement after you have everything layered out. But they don't do any of that. I knew this was going to be a mess this way, especially when I saw this cast. This was bad. And I'll tell you right now, Angela did not choose to go 2 points and get timed out. She did not do the competition because it was not going her way. I want to see a different alternate timeline where she is bad at these challenges and she's not winning, and she gets to make it all the way to the end before seeing 1 elimination. Would she have quit earlier? Would she have been like, I don't want to go into 3 eliminations. I'm going into my 3rd elimination. Screw this. I don't want to go up against Alyssa or all these. But I'm sorry, but she did not. And I don't want to see her on a main season. I don't want to see her again. If this is her figuring out, like, I don't want to move dirt. You just said everybody got to not do it after Dom and Sarah finished. If she would have just persevered and even taken smaller trips because she had smaller dirt so that way she didn't hurt her back, she would have been still in the competition on day 2. But she took a couple barrels and was like, bump this. I'll take the 2 points, even though that's not how this thing works.
But I understand your upsetness about the situation. I could see where you're coming from, but I can also see from a competitor standpoint, like, that it wouldn't feel great to feel like the rules are working against you, and Ben, like, you know, getting hurt is working against you. And I can see some people don't necessarily deal well with feeling like production is against them, and that's what it seemed like to me. It seemed to me that production doesn't like Angela, which is fine. You can like who you like. And they were just trying to make it as difficult as possible for her, because we've seen on many seasons of the main season that when people are about to quit, even on All Stars, TJ comes out and is like, no, Jemmy, you don't want to quit this. You can do this. You can finish this. Like, I don't like quitters. You know, I don't like quitters. Like, he's many, many, many times has come out and convinced people to not quit. Jenna and Jay in that final, when they couldn't eat the food, he comes out and is like, are you really going to quit? Are you really going to quit? And he definitely convinced them to, well, maybe they did quit in the end, but, like, it's not unusual that when people are being faced with, like, am I staying in the competition or going, that TJ comes out and asks them whether or not they really want to do this. So I think that if she knew that she was actually quitting, she might have had a different outcome.
I don't think the rules were against Angela, or Angela could feel that the rules were working against her. It felt like it to me, because Angela was like TJ's #1 favorite competitor on the season. They even gave her onions and garlic. When we just saw Nehemiah, who has been on the challenge since season 13, had to eat animal parts. He is vegan, hasn't eaten meat in 15 years in a final, and he tried to muscle down animal parts. And on the challenge CBS, they gave them onions and garlic. So I don't know. I don't think that the rules were much against Angela. I mean, they could have given her the 1 dial thing and made her the 1 person instead of Justine. They could have put her swimming with the slide puzzle. And what if she didn't finish the slide puzzle? I mean, they could have done so many worse things to her than making her move dirt by herself.
I just think that she felt that they were against her and she wasn't really able to win.
I don't know if they were against her, but I do know that 100% that the production just, again, there's things happening there. They need to sort it out. We're complaining about this over and over. Every time it comes to a finale, it seems like it's controversial because they're just not planning things out. I don't know if they didn't have someone senior, because remember when that happened at the end of All Stars, when you had both Janae and who was a partner again that season?
Darrell.
With names.
Darrell. Oh, Janae,
no,
sorry,
Janae.
MJ
and Janae win that season because they just didn't have a senior production person there that could talk to them at the time when they were trying to sort out how to do the unlock of the chest. Maybe a similar thing where there's a production person here, they're doing this wheelbarrow challenge, but they don't have any authority to make any decisions, or TJ isn't close enough. They can't be on the screen seen talking to Angela. I don't know. They can't get it on camera, so they don't do it. But there's something that they need to work out. I definitely, Drew, I hear you on this. I think there's a lot of people in the live that agree with you, just as there is a lot of people who don't agree with you. Angela seems to be a 50-50 person, and I think we can live with that, because even on this here, I think both myself and Chantel don't blame Angela. I don't mind seeing Angela again. I feel like she did enough to prove herself to come back for USA season 2. I think that she would make certain that she does not quit, or she would ask more questions in the future, because I don't think she's a quitter. I don't think that, being an athlete like she is, I don't think that she came into this thing wanting to quit the finale.
I think she's trying to be strategic, and it backfired.
Yes, exactly. I don't see her quitting. I think even if it doesn't go away, which, by the way, Drew, won't happen because she's an amazing athlete, she will probably dominate the pre-finale part of the show again, but I don't see her just quitting the game. I just don't think that's who she is.
I have a feeling there's less likely of a chance we're going to see Angela come back because she's not doing any press or exit interviews.
She's in Bali right now, though, to be honest, but...
Well, then she went at a time where she was like, I don't care about talking to people about this show, or this show is not a priority to me, probably because of how it ended. So I can see her not really caring to do this ever again. Kind of like when Tyler was on Big Brother All-Stars. He was like, well, this wasn't what I remembered it. I'm cool with never doing this ever again.
There's a little bit of hot tea here, Lena. Some players have secret alliances with production stuff.
True.
I think there's been rumors of that in the past, but also just wanted to bring up here the Hangout Room again with another donation. Thank you so much. Saying, how about when Tyson...
Is she on my channel or your channel? What's going on?
I don't know. But thank you so much. I appreciate you. Don't have to. You don't have to donate. But how about when Tyson got the answer correct and they told him it was wrong? How many challenges have they been turned back on and maybe they were right? I forgot which challenge was that. Do you guys remember the challenge?
The decoder one, the one that Justine was able to time out on. Apparently they had the correct numbers and they said the answer to production, and they were saying no, and then they were like, oh, well, these are the numbers that we have, and like, oh, the numbers are right, like, oh, they are right. And so
jeez, okay.
Like Tyson was saying, he's like, you should have these numbers like written down on a piece of paper on your hand. A lot of times when they're asking for clarification, we're like, well, where are these rules? They're saying it's in my head. Like, I would be really frustrated if like the producers, and I'm doing something grueling that like, you know, is testing my patience and exerting all my energy. And like, I want a rule and they're like, oh, there's no rule book. It's in my head. I would be so fucking pissed. I'd be pissed.
I agree. Let's spend a little bit of time, because we've spent a lot of time on Angela, a lot of time on Tyson, like we rightfully should, because they were two very big figures throughout the season. They dominated big parts of the season. Let's talk a little bit about Ben. I know you guys weren't big fans of him. You probably still aren't a big fan. I don't know where you guys...
still don't want him to go out like that. Like,
yes.
That pisses me off. And like, that was like the beginning of the final, where I was like, well, why are you letting him get on this plane thinking he's going to be able to compete, in order for you to just say to him like, oh, you're out of this game. And I hadn't listened to any exit press because I didn't realize I was going to be that irritated. I just don't want to hear some of these stories yet. Like, I'm just like, I'm so pissed
need time
off. I need some time before I can go and like listen to try to piece together what actually happened. But apparently like he like broke some shit, and like he has like pins and stuff like that that are either in there or need to go in there. So they would have known that he had a major fracture or whatever it is before he got on that plane to potentially compete. And so the fact that they let him get there, I was like already irritated by that. I was like, well, maybe like they bring in David back, and David comes in and he competes here, and you know, he just had left. He might still be in Argentina. Like, I don't know. They just handled everything so poorly that I'm like so upset. I'm really upset.
So listening to Tyson's podcast, he said that before even heading over there, the production came up to Ben and asked him to sign a paper if he would want to compete, that he wasn't medically cleared, but he would still be able to compete if he signed a waiver saying like, I know my problems. Like if I were to go, I was told, and I would forfeit all medical stuff and I wouldn't be able to sue MTV. And he didn't sign the papers. So I believe he knew wholeheartedly that he wasn't going to be competing when he was on the plane. It was just the thrill of it. Everybody's excited, and then he would have to have that moment of being walking off. I mean, when he was talking to Sarah, and then he said, "I'm going to go get my shoulder checked out," and he started walking across the warehouse, I thought he was done. Like, because I didn't see him near the campfire, and I just thought that he wouldn't show up, and maybe TJ would come to the warehouse and be like, "Look, Ben wasn't medically cleared, so he has to go." So I thought they were
David's coming back. You know,
I don't think that would be that would have ever happened.
Only because
Drew, you would have been happy.
Only because he's the last person to be evicted or to be eliminated. So that's why I'm saying David, just because he was last. But I just want, like, I think that if this final was even men and women, I don't think that we would have had any of these quit. Maybe the quits at the Sudoku, who knows? But maybe Angela is good at Sudokus and would be like, Tyson, like, this is how you do it. Like, maybe show him how to solve it or whatever. Like, I think that everything kind of fell apart when they had this one woman each round doing things by themselves, because they had to change and make up new rules on the fly. And I think that that's where things kind of fell apart. They should have
become the luck of the draw. It became the luck of the draw, depending on when you were going to be the one woman doing it. Then you've got the algorithm, how much. I mean, they did the spinny thing, which looked nice, but it must have been preset. These are the people that are together this round, that round, you know. So again, I can understand where some people would think that maybe production definitely gave certain people an easier task to do on their own than not. You could also argue that Angela was pretty competitive throughout the season. She did really well. So production thought surely she would be the one woman that would beast out the night portion on her own and not stop doing it. So who knows what they were thinking at that point. But overall, with Ben, to close off on the Ben chapter here, you know, I still kind of back Ben. I feel like he gets a lot of hate online. Don't always know fully why. I'm not opposed to seeing Ben come back, play again. I don't think he did enough to piss me off in any case this season. I don't know if he did enough to piss people off who don't like him anymore this season as well. He was the guy that never fully got it done. He got second a lot, you know, and I don't know how he would have done in the finale. I would have liked to have seen him run a finale, but you know, he injured himself. I would say probably I would endorse him to come back. Chantal and Drew, how do you feel about Ben? Would you endorse him to do another season?
I'm fine with him coming back.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Drew, are you so angry?
I'm on the fence of wanting another one of these. I don't think I want another one of these. I'm so
let's talk about
already into the Challenge 38. Like, my mind is over there. That trailer was great. I love that cast. I'm ready, and I'm ready to throw this behind me, like, in the rearview mirror. This was so bad, and I agree with Duda Man. I'm 60% blaming, 60 to 70% blaming production, and then 30 to 40% blaming everybody else who quit, because together it made for a sour taste to end this season, and everybody was trying to, like, do their best to convince me that this was the best thing, that this was like the second coming of the challenge. And each and every week I was like, there's something off. There's something off. I just don't feel it. And then boom, this happens and I feel vindicated. I don't know why. I just was like, something about this just makes me feel like I had a feeling in the back of my brain that something like this would happen. Now, this is way worse than anything I could have thought about. But I just thought that
kept on compiling, like, compounding. I'm like, what? Is this the worst? Is this the worst?
Yeah.
Like, it just got worse and worse and worse. And then I'll get excited, and then, like, worse. Like, we didn't talk about Kayla at all, but, like, I thought that, oh my God, Kayla's going to be the last woman standing here. She's going to get to the top of the mountain. She's going to come out.
I would have been so happy for her. I would be happy.
Like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this is what's going to go down. And they didn't show us, but she was taken off by an ambulance, apparently. So, wow. That's not cool. That's not cool. Apparently she sat down and she probably just, like, the coldness got to her bones too quickly, and she got too cold too fast. But she wasn't. I don't know what medically what happened, but she did get taken away by an ambulance, apparently. Yeah. So, or medically DQ'd, but they didn't show it as that. They showed it more as a quit. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
That's not great either.
I don't know. I get you, Drew. Listen, I was high on this thing. I was high throughout the season. I was enjoying it. It was something different. It was cool to see new people experience the challenge. I do think that we need to continue to bring more new people into the challenge, even though I know people who watch the challenge for many seasons don't like that, because I don't want to watch 50 or 60-year-old people still doing the challenge. I want new blood to come into the show. Yeah, it gets boring. Like, I mean, why would I want to watch 50, 60-year-olds do the challenge? Bring some fresh faces in.
Me? Fuck you.
No, if it's you, it's cool. I don't want, you're not 50 or 60 in any case, you know, so you're good. You're good. Don't take it so personal, Chantel. But I like to see like new blood come in. So I think it is positive. I think for the show to be around for another 20 years, you need to bring new blood in. You need to get new legends, you know. So I know what they were trying to do. Did it fall flat? Sadly, yes, it fell flat because, again, production didn't have their ducks in a row. This is, in my opinion, it comes down to production first, cast second. I can't blame the cast above production because this cast has delivered for other shows before. What's the common denominator of finales not working out right here? This cast wasn't in the finale 2 seasons ago. Production was. So production is more at fault, in my opinion, than the show. And that's why, Chantel, I'm similar to you. The show is starting to fall flat for me. You know, I haven't even checked season 38 out yet. I need to go and check some stuff out on that, but I'm really deflated about everything the challenge right now. I might need a couple of weeks.
Agreed. I don't know. I mean, hopefully they'll get me back. Like I did download everybody's like single profile, and I'm like, well, maybe I'll do like a video tarot cards or something. But I don't know if I'm gonna get interested in it again. No, I'm with you that I think that maybe the CBS cast was.
Yeah, Drew, you were looking very sad there for a while. So Dolores, thanks for
I'm not sad. I'm listening. I mean, maybe it's like subconsciously because both of you are saying that you're not feeling it, and now I'm going like, am I going to have Friday nights open? Like, what is going on? Hour 38. Like, what am I going to have to figure out to do? Like, do I have to start?
I'm saying, give me a couple of weeks before I get excited about 38. Is what I'm saying at this stage. You know, so give me some space. But I want the challenge to do good. I just want production to listen to the passionate fans that see through some of this and not make the same mistake over and over. That's the thing that gets me.
And I think what the difference is with the MTV cast, I kind of alluded to it before, was that the CBS people are a little bit too soft for the MTV guerrilla world. And not saying that they couldn't get up the mountain and all that stuff, but I think that, you know, with the level of production, the production style that they're used to, the transparency that they're used to, they kind of, I think, probably were a little bit like, I'm above this a little bit, let me quit. And I think that that's why these quits end up happening, because they're not used to production being shiesty all the time and like doing all these shady stuff, and we hearing about like, oh, people doing drugs and winning the final or being rigged, or people get, you know, we've heard all these things, but they don't complain about it because they're used to it and they kind of expect it. And so I think that that's what the difference is, that if they wanted to do a CBS the challenge, they needed to have a little bit of CBS production people that were overseeing maybe some of this MTV production stuff to make it a little bit more cohesive and transparent for their people. Their people are just too soft, I think, for MTV's like shiesty ways.
Yeah. Roof Dog here saying, any tips on how to enjoy a season when you've had the whole new challenge season spoiled? I'm so bummed about it. Man. I didn't know how to be excited about it now. So, well, I tell you what, Roof, you can watch us, you know, when we've had our moment to relax and, you know, come back down after the disappointment of the Challenge USA. You can watch us get it horribly wrong every single week, since all of us thought Tyson was going to win this season, and I thought Angela was the winner for the females, and it didn't work out that way. Danny and, you know, Sarah came from nowhere to win this season. Let's talk about the winners. Let's finish this off on a positive, because there has been a lot of menace about this. And I know I've seen online some people are still hating on Sarah. Well, Sarah, from what we could see, she didn't quit. She got to the top. She finished this very, very strongly. She is a strong representative for the season, I think, when it comes to the females. So maybe Angela dominated most of the season, but it doesn't matter. You've got to show up in the finale, and that's how you finish. And it was quite funny to see her get to the top of the mountain and be like, wow, they didn't even stay here for me to be told I was last. And then suddenly she's like, no, you actually won this whole thing. How do you feel about Sarah as a winner, guys? Chantel, you start.
I mean, there's obviously some questionable things. Like, so did she time out on that first puzzle? Did she actually get to do the Sudoku? Like, we don't know, but she definitely didn't quit. And so even we see her kind of hiding underneath the trees, getting some shelter. She was probably out there for a really, really long time. And I do appreciate the fact that, I think she said in her confessional, like, she wants her son to know not to ever quit. And I thought that, like, it was quite powerful for her to know that she's in dead last place and that she still wanted to make sure that she got to the top of that mountain. So I personally enjoy the fact that she persevered. As I said, like, I'm like wondering how much of those checkpoints did she have to complete? But no matter what, she stayed long enough to find out if she's going to get timed out or not, or whatever. And so I do respect and appreciate that she stayed long enough to make it up the mountain. And I do think she deserved the win. Also, Danny, I think that he dominated the entire final, and like he did every checkpoint. He didn't, as far as we saw, complain about anything. I think that he's definitely the deserving winner. And it was very impressive. And I was so hoping at the Sudoku part that it was like, okay, it's going to be Tyson versus Danny running up that mountain. Like, I wanted to see that battle at the end and see like who was going to prevail. We didn't get it. But I do think that Danny was by far, with what we saw in this final, the beyond deserving winner. And so I was really happy. And I was also really happy at the end, him getting another Kiki shout out, calling his family with the good news. I thought that was a nice button. It made me feel a little bit better about the final, because I do think that he was just a very, very deserving winner.
Yeah, 100%. Danny won this fair and square. He got through every single portion. When he went to run up that mountain after Sudoku, there were 6 players left in the game. And then when he reached that flag, there was probably still 5 other players behind him he was waiting up there on top of that mountain for a long time. And he crushed it. He crushed it. He crushed every single portion. He was leading heading into the last race. And he was able to get through all the puzzles and make it up that mountain. And giving credit where credit is due. I'm not a huge Sarah fan, but she won. She stayed in the game. It does suck. It does feel like you have to like clench your eyes a little bit when she's walking up after that honeycomb puzzle and everybody else has quit, and she's going up to Sudoku and placing numbers up there. I mean, she could have put 2 8s in the same column, and
no, just
that's in the back of your head. And production's like, we need a guy and a girl winner. So I mean, she has to go through. But I mean, the board that they showed us, it seemed like she completed it, and we can't badmouth her because they blew the horn, and that's a sign that she completed it, and she went up there and she got to the top of the mountain. So whatever conspiracy theories we may have, Danny and Sarah came out on top, literally and figuratively, and they deserve it, and they deserve the win.
Yeah. Listen, I agree. I think that, Danny, again, like I said, he wasn't the most entertaining for me this season. After a while, the Kiki comments, it was like, okay, it's another Kiki One Productions doing the same trick over and over. But is he an awesome human being? Yes. Is he humble, a great role model for young boys out there that are maybe watching the show to be better? I think so. I think he's a great representative of the Challenge USA. I would be happy to see him come back anytime he wants to. Obviously, we will see him back on the World Series or whatever they're calling it. I'd be happy for him to jump onto the main show. I think there would be a few guys that would be intimidated by Danny being on the main show. I mean, you wouldn't want to go up against him in a hall brawl, for instance. I'd love to see that. So I'm happy for Danny, and I'm happy for his family. I'm happy that the money went somewhere good. And I really, that video between him and Kiki in the beginning of it, and then again him phoning her at the end to say that he won, got me all emotional. I was like, oh, this is awesome, because clearly Kiki is someone that appreciates the show, motivates him. She said to him, apparently, I've heard rumor in the Indo is that he could play Survivor if he was to go on the challenge if they ever asked. So that was the deal they had. So he had to go on the challenge when they asked him, because that's her show, and Survivor is Danny's show. So I think it's cool that they got to experience this together. Sarah, I've always been a fan of Sarah. This season, there was times where she was hard to root for, obviously, but ultimately, She crushed it. She went through the season. She won it at the end. I'm happy she gets another opportunity. She becomes the first Survivor/Challenge champion now. So I think it's a crown she'll be proud to wear. And I'm interested to see what she does in this World Series show. But I want to ask both of you, as we get to the close of the Challenge USA, we've kind of jumped ahead and already answered this. I feel low about the Challenge USA. I would give it another chance if there was another season in the future. I know some people are like very low on it. If production were to figure some things out and there was better communication between the cast and them, I'm all for it. And there is still a whole heap of great people from CBS of these shows. I mean, we've got 42 seasons of Survivor. What's it, 24 seasons now, or 23 or 24 seasons of Big Brother, a lot of Amazing Race seasons. There's a lot of good people we could still cast on it. So I wouldn't necessarily say I'm going to write this off. I would never watch it again in the future. But how are we feeling about the other offshoot seasons now? Since we've seen this, are you guys even more worried now about the Challenge Australia, the Challenge Argentina, and the Challenge UK because this was such a mess? Or do you think that they will learn from this? And because we've got other people involved, like for instance, the Challenge Australia, we do know that it's not necessarily just the MTV production team that is involved in this. This is actually Channel 10 in Australia that have got hands on this and they're dealing with it. They've got their own host, and I'm assuming it's going to be the same for some of the other franchises as well. How are you guys feeling about the other challenge shows that they're trying to do?
I don't think it will be anywhere near as catastrophic as this final was. Like I was saying before, I just think that the CBS players are used to too cushy of a lifestyle, and they couldn't really hack with the guerrilla style of production that was happening in this final. So I think, with shows like The Bachelor, Bachelorette, Married at First Sight, Love Island, that's the majority of the shows where they're casting from. I don't know if they'll know any better, right? Like, I think that they'll just allow it to be whatever it is and just compete with the rules that they get. So I don't think that it'll end as badly as this one. I think that these players were just too comfortable, too cushy, too used to things being really, really organized and like transparent.
I am not very optimistic. I mean, this was supposed to be like it. This was supposed to be the big one. This is the one that we know majority of the players. I've seen pretty much all their seasons. And so coming into this, I'm knowing people's competitive levels. I've seen them play their own seasons. And it fell flat to me more so than not on some of the episodes. And it really stunk because I really wanted to get into this and jump into this because I was kind of into the global competition and seeing what this could lead to. I left this season feeling pretty down about it and not really wanting to see majority of these people ever on the main season or even on a season 2. I don't want to see even a season 2. I'm not really jumping up and down to see a whole bunch of players that I have no idea who they are on TV shows that I don't think are super competitive to being on the challenge. Would I be excited if the Challenge MTV came up and said that, oh, we got a slew of Married at First Sight players coming to be on this upcoming season of the Challenge, or a person from MasterChef? I'm going, what? No, yeah. I'm not really jumping up and down for that. I mean, I'm going to do a watch party on Patreon for the $3 and up tiers when it starts to air in Australia, but I'm not going to cover it on my channel. I'm not a huge, like, the Argentina cast isn't getting me all thrilled and excited either, even though I think that we don't even have a full cast, or it wasn't even dropped all that much. But I will say that I'm actually excited for the cast that they put together for the UK. They were talking about how they were just going to put random people on there that had never been on reality TV. And what I've seen lately is that they're putting a lot of reality stars, and I love UK TV. And I think that one could be as messy as possible. So the one I'm most looking forward to is the UK, but I'm still going to be very, very, like, I'm going to be stepping back a little bit and going to be like, I'm just going to try to enjoy it. But I think I'm going to do mainly watch parties and talk on Patreon exclusively than trying to cover it on my own channel, doing these review and recaps every single one that comes out for the episode.
That's fair. We've been doing this for a long time now. I've realized in the last week. Like, I mean, it's pretty much been nonstop challenge talk from the beginning of the year until now, and we've only got maybe 2 or 3 weeks before we go into the challenge 38. So it's busy, you know. So doing all these different countries, I can understand if you wanted to take a little bit of a step back and what you're putting out there. We've got one more thing to do before we sign off on the Challenge USA. We need to crown a champion for the draft, and let's bring up the draft. Going into the finale, that was the teams that were left. Obviously, we lost Alyssa. There wasn't too much talk about Alyssa and Angela going up against each other. I think that the weight difference, height difference, again, that just played into it, and she was out. She didn't put up much of a fight. Then obviously we also lost through all of this Ben towards an injury, ultimately leaving us with 2 people left in the game. Who was going to be Sarah from my team. There's a lot of people to remove here. Sarah from my team and Danny from Drew's team. But Drew, talk us through the points. Where did we end up at the end of the finale? Did anybody even catch up? Because I feel like I kind of was weird territory. I was running away with it probably about 3 weeks going into the finale.
Don't do this. Don't do this. If you weren't host, we would have just skipped past this. Me and Chantel were just like, yeah, we can just end it here. Let's go. Let's walk off. Let's hit the ending. But
hey,
of course,
I have to enjoy it. This doesn't happen all that often, so I got to enjoy it. You know.
All right. So in third place, finally passing the 300 mark, was myself. Yes, I have Danny being my number 1 point scorer with 153 total points. I jump up from 244 to 371. I jump 127 points in this 2-hour episode. So
wow.
Thank you, Danny, for making me seem somewhat competitive. But it did not work out because next up, way over me in second place was Team Chantel. Your top point scorers were Tyson with 147.5 points and Angela with 138.5 points. You jump up from 302 to 464, getting 162 points, even with all of everybody getting -2 points besides Danny and Sarah. Everybody is just jumping up points and getting 100 more points total in this episode than Chantel. Is our winner, Chris. You went from 383 last week to 652 points. You had 269 points this one episode. And Sarah got a total points of 194 total points in this single episode. You got bonus points. The bonus points was just plus 25 points for all these players. Sarah got most confessionals, so she got an extra 25 points. Most daily wins was a tie between Tyson and Angela. Most elimination wins was Enzo, so he got 25 points. Winning a phase in the finals, I gave everybody 10 points that finished in first spot in the finals, so that was multiple people. And then most points heading into the finals was Tyson. So Tyson got an extra 25 bonus points, but it was no match for Chris and his army. My gosh, getting 260 something points. So.
I love how Christina says we all wander into a win sometimes. Because I remember when I did the picks. People
Sarah,
were like,
first pick, Sarah.
Yeah, people were like, yeah, we fully expected Chris to go Sarah Ben on his first picks, because that's the wildness of his picks. But at the end, I'll take the win. I feel like it's going to be hard to top this. Depending on what we're doing for this next season, I need to actually see who's on the cast to begin with, because we did our pre-season picks anything for this next season. I don't know if I can top this.
Because we have to figure out, because there's new players that weren't there when we did the draft and stuff. Maybe we go and we had to bid or auction for players, see if we want them still, or I don't know. I haven't thought this through.
I like that idea, because we want to utilize what we have and then maybe potentially, but we'll talk about it. Let's brainstorm that offline. We don't want to bore you guys with the creative process of trying to figure out what we're going to do, because we were trying to be ahead of the curve, so no one can say, you guys just know the spoilers, which none of us do. But
I don't know any spoilers for this season.
A blip in his face, because
the
cast is different. How many different people are in the cast from what we did? Is half the cast or something is different?
No,
6,
not that many?
4 or 6.
No, the only players that we didn't draft because I don't want to say anything. I don't want to say anything because there's
okay,
something else, but there's 2 people that were the only people that weren't drafted. And then I think that there was an alternate that was brought in for one of the couples. But so that's only 3 people that are different than what we were drafting with. Just throwing it out there. Yes, I'm very sure.
Well, keep an eye on our channels. Keep an eye on the socials. You know, if you don't follow myself or Drew on Twitter, if you don't follow us on our channels, the Nullified Take, Reality Realness, or Angel Cake Entertainment channel, which you can see that side at the bottom, make sure to subscribe to all 3 of us because we all 3 do a lot of reality TV content. Reality Realness does everything. The Nullified Take.
Right now, I'm like chill right now.
Are you chill? Okay, well, this is your opportunity. What are you doing right now, Chantal, and what will you be doing soon?
Well, what I think that everybody that's in Toronto or nearby should do, I was asked to host a question and answer session during the final viewing party of The Amazing Race Canada. So there will be at least 3 teams that will be there watching this final finale episode. And then myself, Jojo, and Phil will be asking some questions to the racers. We might even put together a little bit of a game for them to play. And so if you're in Toronto, I can't remember actually I can look it up, but the location I'll put in the info box below. And yeah, so come and be live. So that's Tuesday. So this Tuesday, I believe it's the 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern. And I'm going to tell you where in just like 1 second, but I will be there hosting something live. And I'm going to try to get some other Toronto-based players or people. So I'm going to ask maybe if Kevin wants to come and be part of this and you know, maybe hang out and have some conversations, as well as Erica. She lives close by. So I'm going to see if I can get some more people from Toronto or close to come and hang out. So that's happening on Tuesday. Other than that, the other train wreck that I've been watching is The Bachelorette. It's finally going to come to an end. Put me out of my misery, please. This season needs to end.
Let's go.
And then all the love shows are starting up. So we got the Love Boats happening soon. Obviously, Survivor and The Amazing Race US is starting up as well. And I do plan on covering those as well. So that's what's coming.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I have way too much fun with both of you not to talk about the Challenge 38. So Drew, don't worry about that. It's just I'm really low. And thank you for everybody.
Stressing.
Yeah, Drew's stressing. It's like Lena saying, you absolutely love the chemistry. You 3 are the best. We thank you so much, Lena, for that. We enjoy doing this. And thank you so much to everybody that's been with us throughout the season, struggling with us, you know, for some of the stuff, you know, as we all get frustrated about different things for the Challenge USA. But Drew, you've been doing a lot of content for the Challenge USA. You know, you've got a lot going on your channel, doing some, I believe are you still doing the rewatches for
Endurance?
Yes.
Endurance? Yes. So tell us what's happening on your channel as we head into 38.
So Sunday is going to be a Endurance, then a short on Mondays. And this Tuesday, I don't think I'm going to be putting up a challenge video because I did a lot. And I'm still recovering from getting over sick. I'm kind of still congested and a little bit still woozy in some of my head at some certain points and getting a headache. So I don't think I'm going to be putting out anything this Tuesday. I put out a ton of content this week. I put out the cast reveal video and background information for the Challenge 38. I did a 27-minute breakdown of a 1.5-minute trailer for the Challenge 38 Ride or Dies.
Wait, good. We've already drafted.
Yes, we've already drafted. And then Tuesday, I'm not going to be doing anything, but I'm hoping to have something for Thursday or Friday, which is going to be another rival series. I did the Wes and Kenny one this past week. I gotten great feedback on it, and I love doing it. So I'm hoping to get another one done. And then I'm going to be talking about the Challenge USA this Saturday for Patreon exclusive. And then for 3 weeks, I'm going to be doing watch parties for the Untold History with my Patreon for the $3 and up tier.
I might even pay $3 to be in that group chat.
Hey, here we go. More the merrier. And then once the challenge starts, then I'll be doing live like power rankings and doing what people in my Patreon is calling Bakery After Dark is what they're calling themselves. Okay. So yeah, let's cook some raw dough or something. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun, a lot of exciting stuff. And I'm also putting out we're watching through the Extreme Challenge for the $5 and up tier. So we're watching through season 4, which is nuts, but I'm having a great time.
Awesome. Well, on the Nullified Take channel, we will be back live in about 40 minutes from now to talk about Survivor 43. Myself and Jake, for the first time since Survivor 42, will be reunited as we talk about the cast. We'll be doing our draft picks for the season. Moving forward, I'll be recapping in the same time slot for now. I believe that we've been doing the challenge. I'll be recapping Survivor 43 each week until 38 comes, and then I'll probably bump Survivor 2 hours later so we can continue to do this at 8 p.m. So you guys are back at the same time. But that's going to be coming to the channel, and also the Amazing Race starts next week as well. So we will be covering myself and Michelle, not Chantel's Michelle, but the Michelle that did the coverage with me. I would love to have that Chantel of Michelle on as well. But my Michelle, that is an Aussie Michelle, will be doing the Amazing Race content as we recap that as well. So plenty of content dropping between the Nullified Take channel, Reality Realness with 3 S's, and Angel Cake Entertainment channel. So be sure to check out all 3 channels out. Make sure to like the video on both channels, please, and subscribe if you haven't done so. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night. Bye.
Bye.